My name is Tannis Laidlaw. Today, I'm here to introduce a new murder mystery series called The Madeline Brooks Mysteries. The first book in the series is Death in Cold Waters, a murder mystery perfect for lovers of British crime fiction. As I said, my name is Tannis Laidlaw, and I'm the author of Death in Cold Waters, published by Fourth Estate Books. It and the other two books in the series are available as eBooks at Amazon and Smashwords, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, and various other ebook stores as well. The book, Death in Cold Waters, begins with the murder of a young teenager. He was running because he wanted to, had to. The sheer joy of it finally swept everything else away as he knew it would. Sweat dripped off his forehead and stained his t-shirt, ran down into his crotch, and left his feet squelching in his trainers. He loved running, kept him fit, and produced a feeling of being the only person in the entire world. He loved the freedom. He ran whenever he could. That feeling of being the king, the chief, the total best, or even the supreme commander now rang strong and true through his bloodstream, suffusing his skin, his muscles, his brain, and his genitals. A king of all he surveyed. Majesty. Oh, he loved that word. Majesty. He approached the towpath, which ran along the Thames, one side of the path forming a grassy embankment in front of houses in the distance. The other side, bushes, trees, and the occasional track to the water's edge, only a few meters down the slope. When he'd been a child, it had been a good place to play. Strictly forbidden, of course, in the bushes right by the river. When little, with other little boys. When a teenager, with little girls. Scene of his first sexual experience. So this place was special. With that thought, he reduced his speed as he ran along the path, slowed as he passed lush bushes leaning over the shoreline, visions of little girls, innocent little girls, playing in the sunshine. He stopped. He'd spotted something. A school uniform? A girl's school uniform? His body zinged with an easy flexing of his muscles. He jumped down the steep part of the bank and landed right beside the startled girl. "Now, what have we here?" he asked. A little thing, pretty, young, scared. Recognized her, but what was her name? He told her what he wanted. Quiet, authoritative. She shook her head, scurried back, closer to the water's edge. He shook his head, a very different shake. The breeze was cooling his sweat. He dropped down close to the cowering girl, and with fumbling fingers fished out his condom, always carried in his wallet. Nobody else was around. He stole a quick glance at his watch, his last rational act, until, sometime later, reality pounded all subsequent thought back into insignificance. By then it was too late for little, reluctant, what's-her-name. All the subsequent chapters are about Maddie's search for the truth to aid her in the solving of this awful murder. Chapter 2. The evening before, Madeline Brooks stuffed the unfinished work into a plastic sleeve as she prepared to leave work. "I see the reports are not in," Romania said from behind Maddie. "You know the rules. All reports in a full 24 hours before they're due. No exceptions. I shouldn't have to tell you that, Madeline, you of all people." "We made that rule to give us plenty of time to go over the junior service officer's report," Maddie said. "The directive wasn't meant for the senior staff." The irritation at being treated like an ignorant underling came to a slow boil inside her. This was not the first time. Romania didn't deign to discuss the rule she had adapted. 9 tomorrow. Don't be late." Maddie jammed the folder into her business bag. Before leaving, she took off her ID, Madeline Brooks, senior probation officer, and dropped the tag into her top drawer. Her position hadn't changed, even if the work had. What happens next? Well, Maddie becomes worried. One of her clients, who is doing well, is returned to prison under a new suspicion of murder. She doesn't believe it, but he fits the profile. The crime, a horrific extension of the crime for which he was originally convicted years before. And the police are convinced. Someone has to do something, and the only someone is her. As Maddie struggles to find out what happened, she is bothered by a disquieting question. Was he really guilty of the original crime? Was his original conviction safe? If you love English settings, a strong female lead, and a curly murder mystery, you'll love this book and this series. Has been the first chapter and a little bit of the second chapter of Death in Cold Waters by Tannis Laidlaw, produced with video clips from Lumen 5, a photograph that Tom Ryan took of me at a cafe one day, and this is an Adobe Spark video, the software that I use to put it all together.